8:42, time to check in with Tim Logan from STLtoday.com, St. Louis Post-Dispatch reporter who's been covering this Boeing story all week. Good morning, Tim.
Hey, how are you?
Yesterday you posted a story. You've read the request for proposal that was leaked. You got a copy of it. You wrote the story. How close or how good is this package compared to the RFT that was released?
Well, the RFP that Boeing distributed to 12 to 15 places, I mean, it doesn't get into specific dollar amounts on the incentives, which is what they're working on in Jefferson City, but clearly Boeing wants a lot of tax breaks. They want the building free or basically free. They want the land free or basically free, and they want pretty much all their taxes, quote, significantly reduced. So the package that state and local officials here are putting together can do a lot of that. Probably the trickiest thing in that document for St. Louis was the fact that there's no way we can build an ocean. And while it's not required, it is desired that they have access to a international deep sea harbor to ship containerized parts in shipping containers probably from suppliers in Asia.
Yeah. We score well on rail because they asked for some rail components. We scored well on airline space and or runway space, right?
Yeah,
Lambert satisfies all of that. So comparing what Jefferson City is putting together and what Boeing wants, it's a pretty good match, no?
It is, and the problem is we don't know what other states are going to be able to offer in terms of incentives. I mean, our package is pretty big for Missouri, but, California or Texas are capable of putting out bigger numbers. Washington State already has. So it depends on what Boeing values out of this mix, But the biggest obvious hurdle was Seaport, but they're talking to a lot of places that are not on the ocean. So That was unclear how big a deal that is to them.
Where are we with the House moving through with this legislation down in Jefferson City?
A House committee voted on it yesterday. It's going to go to the full House today. Nobody who can stop this seems to be standing in the way of it. I'm sure there'll be some no votes, but they appear set to vote on it today, and if that happens, it'll be done in time to submit a proposal on Tuesday, which is the deadline.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. On one hand, you praise the unions, the Republicans, the Democrats, the House, the Senate, the governor, all working together. On the other hand, it's almost like nobody wants to be the one who can be blamed if Boeing goes somewhere else.
This is a big train, and everybody's on it right now. There's nobody really standing up in the way. Even my colleague Virginia Young had a great story today about a deal that Governor Nixon apparently cut with some senators to get their support on this. He promised that he'll take tax credit reform seriously in the general session that's going to come in the spring, which would mean potentially cutting historic tax credits and low-income housing tax credits, which are big and expensive but also politically popular programs. Not cutting them completely, but reducing them. That's the kind of thing that has stopped economic development bills in the past, because the people who support those programs have been willing to block other legislation to protect them. This time around, that doesn't seem to be as big a concern. And that's how big this Boeing deal is. Nobody wants to stop it.
Yeah, what about that story that came out, I guess it was the Wall Street Journal, one of the St. Louis machinist presidents came out and said, hey, wait a minute, it should go to Seattle first? What was that all about?
There's a lot of union politics going on there, too. The union here that represents about 2,500 workers at Boeing is the International Association of Machinists, same international union that represents the workers in Seattle who voted down this contract. The IAM here hasn't said much, really, but on Wednesday night, their president, Gordon King, told a Seattle public radio station that he thinks that the machinists in Washington are best equipped to handle this, and that he reportedly told them that if Boeing came to the St. Louis machinists with the same contract they offered in Seattle, he wouldn't even put it up for a vote, which I'm sure it was a rough night for Gordon King on Wednesday, because that's not what the governor and labor leaders in Missouri have been saying. They've been saying St. Louis unions will be more flexible than they were in Seattle. That's what this whole thing is predicated on. So yesterday morning, Gordon King puts out a statement saying, essentially retracting what he said to that radio station and saying we're willing and ready and able to talk to Boeing about this deal. We'd love to do this work. I mean, he wasn't making promises on specifics, but he's like, we're totally open to talking here.
Yeah.
And by the way, Gordon King's not giving any more interviews. So, it's an interesting thing. It's probably nothing,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, these are the kinds of reasons why people say Boeing may not want to go to a union location, because they don't have to deal with union politics. The internal politics of the IAM are not an issue in Alabama,
Right.
or Texas.
Yeah.
It can be here.
It's a really interesting to watch, just the Boeing story, but how all of the players are playing well with others, as I said, because nobody wants to be the bad guy. Nobody wants to be blamed if Boeing goes somewhere else.
That's true. My colleague Dave Nicholas had a column in our business section this morning questioning the numbers underneath the incentive package, and he raises some good questions about the size. How much economic activity is this really going to generate? But you haven't heard a lot of that discussion aside from a few skeptics in the Senate.
Yeah, good point. Tim Logan, we'll let you get back to work. Thank you for joining us via Skype on a busy morning for you, getting the kids off in the snow. We appreciate it. STLtoday.com for all of your great work, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks a lot. Talk to you later.
You got it. Tim Logan with us via Skype, via our partnership with STLtoday.com. If you missed any of it or want to see it again, we'll tweet it up. We'll post it at KTRS.com, and it'll also be posted at STLtoday.com. 8:50 Mizzou football next with voice of the Tigers, Mike Kelly, Big 550 KTRS.